Welcome back, everyone. This is Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting, and you're listening to another Resilient Entrepreneur podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about or really asking you one question, and then we'll dissect it a little bit here. And basically the question is, are you making yourself happy? I've been spending this past day here in a conference, a mastermind session, and in many, many different ways, this question is being posed and asked and dissected, and it made me think of some of you and some people that I know, clients of mine, friends of mine, acquaintances of mine, and it really comes down to, are you making yourself happy? Actually, before I go ahead, I want to hit the pause button, and I want to go back to really the title of this podcast, and it is The Resilient Entrepreneur. So, entrepreneur being the person who knows the direction, knows what they want, they have this end goal in mind. And then when you think about resilient, well, that means that if something is resilient, that it's not easily swayed. If it hits an obstacle or something, it's going to bounce back or it's just going to keep going. So essentially, just think of it as the unstoppable entrepreneur. So let's go back to the question for this podcast, which is, are you making yourself happy? And I was having lunch with someone today. I've actually had several conversations with people today, and in different ways it's come up and been part of a discussion about, well, what will make you happy? And interestingly enough, in some of my conversations, again with friends, family, clients, sometimes we really don't know. And it may be because maybe we've made a ton of progress and there's no new destination. We already reached the destination that we had put together before, and now we're at a point where we don't really have a new goal to shoot for. Or when maybe we have this personality where we're so worried about everyone else and we prioritize everyone else that we don't prioritize ourselves and what we want. Then we get to something where, we're afraid of, when we think about our relationships or our own ego or some other things, we don't prioritize ourselves over other people because of the relationships or egos and things like that. So one of the biggest things that if you don't already have the answer to the question of what will make you happy, then I would highly suggest you seriously sit down and put some real thought into this. Whether it's, go sit in your quiet space or meditate, yoga. It's funny, when I was much younger, I'd sit on a lawnmower for hours on end and come up with some of the best and craziest ideas. And, so everybody's got their own place and how they do it, but really put some serious thought into what will make you happy. And the last question I'm going to ask you, I'm coming back to this question of what will make you happy. So the second one is, what's really holding you back? So once you know what you really want, then some of you may kind of have an idea, or maybe you really do know what you want. The next question with this was, who's holding you back or what's holding you back? And the part two to this one is, are those things that you say that are holding you back, or the people that are holding you back, is it real or is it perceived? Many times it's more of a perceived thing than an actual real thing. There's very few people in this world who hold so much power over you that they can truly hold you back. Most times it's a perceived thing. And I'm talking about even people who are your spouse or somebody who's super important to you, maybe even your employer, maybe your customers. There are very few people in this world who have so much power over you that they are truly holding you back. Most times that's a perceived thing. And then that brings us to the third thing, which is a little bit of a play off the second question. And that is, when you look at your world and your sphere, and you think about those who are around you, are they judgers or are they supporters? And interestingly, I know some folks who we can think about family, or we can think about friends, or our customers, our clients, our patients, and many of them can be judgers. But sometimes those people are judgers because they don't see what you see. You've not been able to communicate the bigger picture of what you see a month down the road, a year down the road, 5 years down the road. You've not been able to communicate that, so they don't understand it, so they judge you for it. And really, it's sometimes it could be their ignorance because we've not conveyed this to them. We've not drawn it out for them. It could be that they're scared. Maybe they do see it, but they're scared and they don't understand what is going to happen as a result. Or if we do that, but what about this? So, they could be scared for themselves. They could be scared for you. And then if we also then look at, hopefully have some people in your circle that are your supporters. And really, we likely give more floor time to the people who are our judges than our supporters. And imagine if you flip-flop that. Imagine if you turn the volume down on the people who are judging you and turn the volume up on the people who are actually supporting you, the ones who want to see you succeed, and you get more of that positivity. And yes, I know sometimes the judger may come from within. You may have those little voices in your head. It's interesting, the one lady today said she had an entire committee in her head, and sometimes that committee didn't even agree. So, you think about turning down the volume on the judges and turning up the volume on the supporters, and imagine what that's going to do for you in terms of what's going to make you happy. And then we get to the last question, which brings us right back to the first question again as well, which is, are you playing too small? Because really the second question and the third question are oftentimes, to me, the reason why people play it too small. Because they think about, well, what are they going to think about me? Or what are they going to say to me about me? How are they going to interact with me? Am I going to lose my relationships and things like that? So I would say most people play way too small, way too small, because they're too worried about what other people think as opposed to what's going to make me happy, what's going to make my day better. I'd rather see you prioritize making you happy so you're not stuck at work working 80 hours because somebody else doesn't want to do their job, or you're not stuck trying to grow your business because somebody else doesn't see it or get it, okay? And, sometimes we have to, once we see it in our head and we know what we want, we just have to blaze the path, and then others will see it later. They have to see it created. Not everyone has the vision. And so you have to, once you see that bigger picture, you have to blaze the path and show them this is what I was talking about. And oftentimes you're going to get those aha moments for yourself, but more importantly for them, because if they are important people for you, whether they're your customers, your team, whoever, you need to sometimes blaze that path so they can see it. They have the aha moment, and it's like, oh, because the cool part is, when they believe in you and they see you blaze this path, now they're followers. I believe in this person. I'm going to follow them where they go. I'm going to trust them. And that's one of the biggest pieces, is just the trust. So I bring you back to the question of, I asked you this first, but I wanted to work through this and come back to it, is what will make you happy? Because I'm sure when I asked you this question a few minutes ago, what will make you happy? You were probably thinking a little more money, or you might have been thinking a little more time. And again, these are little things, as opposed to, what if I scaled back and I worked 25% less time? Or what if I made 40% more income? What if I doubled my income? What if I tripled my income? So, rather than thinking the way we have, I know people right now who should be making $500,000 more than they are right now. Part of the reason they're not is because they're prioritizing other people and too worried about what other people think, as opposed to making themselves happy. And, when I say this and I share the story, you might be thinking, well, why would they do that? But when you're the one that's in it, it's different. And, this is why I do these podcasts, because I like to create thought and I like to get people thinking. So that is where I would suggest you start, is with the what is going to make you happy. And again, think big, because even if you shoot for something absolutely massive and you fall a little bit short, you're still going to be so far beyond what you would have thought about to begin with. So in recap, what will make you happy? Who's holding you back, and is it real or perceived? Who in your circle are the judgers and the supporters? And again, turn the volume down on the judgers, turn the volume up on the supporters, and go back and think, am I playing it too small? Because this is for you, and this is your family, and this is your future. If you thought bigger, if you take this stuff seriously, you could change your income, you could retire earlier, you could have more time for your hobbies, your family, or things like that. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you have things you'd love me to discuss or answer or cover in any future podcast, please feel free to drop it in the comments. Shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you. As I've said before, I've got more great stuff that I've got coming up. Some things that have been brought on by the seminar that I've been in this week. And as I said, I really hope you enjoyed this podcast, but much more importantly, I really hope you take these questions very seriously. You answer them for yourself and for your future.